And then I also wanted to talk about, so Jetpack Compose, right? Like I know you did a 45-minute video on it. So people that are listening, I'll link it in the show notes. You can go watch it. But just, your brief kind of overview, like how did you find using it? And like, I assume the direction we're going is, in a year or 2 years, there will be no XML layout files. But what was your experience with it? And like, how did you find it?
First of all, it's not as easy as Google makes it sound sometimes in their videos, especially when it comes to side effects and all that stuff and how to handle state. But once you wrap your head around it, it is really a lot of fun. And I'm already kind of addicted to it. I don't even want to touch XML anymore. So it's really fun to build layouts like that. A lot of stuff is much easier. For example, recycler view versus lazy column. How you build scrollable lists, it's much easier now. Animations are much easier. And I think it's less likely that you introduce bugs because of the way you put state into these composables. Views like checkboxes, they don't have their own internal state. That can be in XML, you could just put a checkbox into your layout, and when you click it, it changes the checked state. But in Compose, this is different. In Compose, you have always to pass the Boolean value if this is checked or not. So this way you know that if the checkbox is checked, then the corresponding Boolean value in your view model that feeds this checkbox also has the same state. So it's not two different sources of truth that can cause weird bugs. So those are things that make this kind of layout more fun and easier to work with, I think. But again, it's not so easy to get started. But if you follow through the learning path they have online, you can probably put a link to that into the show notes later. If you follow through with that, then you learn most of the stuff pretty quickly.
Okay. So would you...
But yeah, it's fun.
Okay. So the other question on that was like, in terms of the learning curve, how, like if you already know Android, right? So if someone's listening, they already know Android. What's the learning curve switching to like building stuff in UI, building stuff in code in terms of UI?
It was not as big of a learning curve as I expected. A lot of stuff still works the same. I mean, I still use view models from Jetpack. I still use Room for SQLite. Dagger Hilt pretty much works the same with the model. So a lot of the stuff is still completely the same. And switching was not really as hard as I expected.
Okay.
Takes a few weeks, I guess, to get used to it. And that's it.